inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money!
So it's the start of November. The weather's getting colder, kids are getting fat from all that Halloween candy, and adults are getting into fistfights over who they think should be the next US president. But me personally, I'm not gonna waste my time getting into fistfights over who I think will cause the least amount of damage to the economy. That's just stupid. Instead, I'm gonna waste my time getting into fistfights with people who think this is a good idea. You know, like a human being with an actual brain would. Now, I know a lot of people have made a video about this topic already, and I'm sure there are people who are going to rip into me or make fun of me for adding nothing new to the conversation. But I just have this pent up frustration towards this absolute disaster of a video game console that I can no longer keep to myself. So I thought to myself, why don't I just share that frustration with anyone watching this video? Which, is probably not a lot right now. And I know you're probably looking at the title of this video and you're like, oh come on, isn't that a little harsh? I mean, regardless of how you feel about the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's not the worst console ever. And you know what? That's okay. I can understand why people would feel that way. There have been a lot of pretty bad video game consoles over the years, and everyone has their own idea for which one is the worst video game console. There are people who think it's the Virtual Boy, there are people who say it's the Atari. Which one, you ask? I'd say both. And there are people who think it's the Philips CDI. For very understandable reasons. But I'm here to tell you why I think the PlayStation 5 Pro is the single worst video game console ever. And you might say, well, how can you say it's the worst one ever if it isn't even out yet? Well, there's some people who got their hands on it early, so in my book, that's fair game. First and most obvious is the graphical improvements, or lack thereof. I've seen a whole bunch of videos comparing the PlayStation 5 to the PlayStation 5 Pro, and you know what I found? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The entire point of having the PS5 Pro is to have a better looking video game experience, right? With graphics that are vastly improved and more realistic looking, right? Well, what exactly about these two images is supposed to set them apart from each other? Like, can you spot the difference? I don't think so. If you took video game footage from a regular PS5 and told me it was on a PS5 Pro, I would believe you. Like, what is the percentage of the improvement? 10%? 5%? 1%? 0.0000001%? I don't even think I can say that it's bad because that would imply that there's something here. And that's the problem. It's nothing. Like, there's literally nothing. There's just nothing here. It's the absence of anything. Like, the only difference that I can think of is that the PS5 Pro has slightly different colors, which is something you can just do yourself by adjusting your television. It's literally a scam. Sony is trying to bank on the idea that the PS5 Pro is more graphically impressive, but there's nothing impressive here. It's like comparing night with night, but it's like 3 a.m. Hey guys, look at that sunset. Can you see it? I can. It's over there. It's coming up. You'll see. Any minute now. You see the problem with that? It's like trying to play a game of Where's Waldo. Except you don't even have to look for him, because he already found himself. Why does Sony insist on doing this? Why do they insist on blowing away their money just to give us a slightly better looking version of The Last of Us? Second, it's digital only. Like, at this point Sony is expecting you to buy all of your video games digitally. No discs, no physical copies, it all has to be downloaded from the internet. What, are they trying to turn video games into a streaming service? What happened to the good old days when you can proudly hold a video game in your hands? What happened to all those exciting Christmas mornings when you opened a Christmas present, and after getting rid of all the wrapping paper you see a copy of Pokemon Stadium in your hands? It made you feel powerful. It made you feel like a god. It made you feel like you could do anything. It made you feel like you could get away with anything. Even murder. Okay, maybe not murder, but it still felt really good. It's one of our all-time favorite pastimes as gamers, having all our video games shelved and organized for everybody to see, proudly showing off that physical collection of video games. It's like you had the lost treasure of Atlantis in your bedroom. Just look at this huge video game collection, and it makes you feel proud that you can show it to people. Well, guess what? Those days are over. Sony is now trying to push for digital-only content, discouraging people from getting physical copies of their games. You know, the same thing that Disney is doing with Disney Plus, and we all know how that's going. And let me just ask a few questions while I'm at it. What if something happens that we can't download digital video games anymore? If everything is digital only, then the video game industry is operating on quicksand. It doesn't matter how long it takes, eventually it's going to sink. And aside from that, where am I gonna put all those digital games? Where am I gonna get all the storage for all those hundreds of gigabytes? Are they trying to scam us into buying a bunch of hard drives too? Unless the games are like 25 gigabytes apiece, there's no way you're gonna fit a whole library of games on your PS5 Pro if it's digital only. Oh, but not to worry, fair viewers, because Sony did take the time to make a disk drive for the PS5 Pro, sold separately. What kind of bullshit is that? No, seriously, what were you smoking when you came up with this concept? You're selling us a video game console that can play discs, while selling the disc drive separately? Why would you even make that decision? That's like buying a new pair of shoes, but you have to pay extra for the soles. Or getting a state ID, but you have to pay extra for the ID number. What's next? Are they gonna sell us the PlayStation 6 without the cords? Are they gonna sell us the PlayStation 7 without the console? Like $500 just for the box. There's no way this was an accident. They are doing this on purpose to scam more money out of you. How do I know? Well, because of the third problem. It's $700. And if you want to get the disc drive, that's almost another $100 right there. $700 for a video game console with a library where there's hardly any video games to play. Look, as somebody on YouTube, I can understand being desperate for money, but not this desperate. Why are you charging us this much money for an upgrade? It's not like you have that much competition right now. Microsoft has accepted defeat, and I highly doubt that anybody's gonna get Grand Theft Auto 6 on the Nintendo Switch. There's nothing wrong in reducing the price. Make it $400, even $500, but with the disc drive included. But $700 US? You do realize that in other countries that's well over 1,000. You know what? At this point, you're better off just buying a PC. Because at this rate, I will concede that PC is superior to console. And this is coming from a guy currently working on a console collection. It's also sad to know that there are actually stupid shit-eating cocksucking retards out there who are proudly talking about how they're pre-ordering their PS5 Pro, showing pride in the fact that they just pissed away $700 for this. Like, why would you pay $700 for this? For an image that's like 2% sharper? This is exactly why the economy is in the toilet. Instead of using that $700 to buy something that isn't useless, you're using it to buy a shitty video game console with no games to play. What, is this your grand master plan to make up all the money you lost on Concord? What happened to you, Sony? You used to have your head in the game. You used to be on top of the world. You were the new surprise challenger in a world where people were fighting over Sonic being better than Mario or Mario being better than Sonic. You blew it, man. You had it all and you blew it. You didn't even have the decency to throw in the vertical stand. This console is an absolute travesty, and I really do think at this time that it's the single worst video game console out there. At least the Philips CDI provided us with things that were entertainingly bad. This isn't entertainingly bad, it's just bad. So if you're watching this, do yourself and your family a favor and don't get a PlayStation 5 Pro. For the love of God, please do not spend $700 on a PlayStation 5 Pro. Instead, take that $700, go to Amazon, and get a GameCube. And get some GameCube games while you're at it. That's all for now, and remember, always pick the Nintendo GameCube over the PlayStation 5 Pro. Good day.
Well, folks, that's the news, and I am out of here.